Alright, what's up? So, welcome back to another video, and today I'll just be covering everything you need to know before the release of Rematch. So, Rematch is releasing on the 19th of June, and that's in about 10 days. It's currently the 9th as I'm recording this. And there's a few things I want to cover, such as, what happens when you buy early access, do the bundles give you anything, any progression tips, or any sort of insights that I might have. So anyways, let's get right into it. So like I said, Rematch is, going on early access, so pre-order basically. You can pre-order two versions. You can pre-order the Elite version and then the Pro version. So I'm not too sure which one's the cheaper one, but I have the cheaper one. And the perks it gives you are, it gives you access 3 days earlier. So if the release is on 19th, which it is, you will get access on the 16th. So that's what I've done, and I'm gonna be playing a little more than other players might, and buying the game earlier than usual. And I'm pretty sure it's gonna be cheaper as well, because for me it looked cheaper in my currency, because I'm pretty sure the game's gonna be $30 to $29.99 USD, and I think the pre-order's a bit cheaper. I think it's about 20 or 22. I can't recall which one, but that's one of the things that is good to know before you buy or pre-order the game at all. So the next thing I want to cover is just basic mechanics. I've already made a whole video on it, so I'm not going to cover it in this one because there's multiple videos I've made on just the mechanics and stuff. So I'll put that up on screen right now. And learning the mechanics, even when you've not played the game, can be a good reference point when you do end up starting the game. And if you end up buying early access, then you don't have to waste time playing around and finding out what the controls are when you can just watch a video on it. So I'll leave that up on the screen. I'll leave that in the description as well, so you can go check that out. So a lot of people might be wondering why I'm asking them to buy early access, or why they should. So obviously early access gives you, like I said, a 3-day advantage or a 3-day head start. So first of all, it helps support the developers, which is obviously, I mean, it's a pretty big company, but still, it helps them collect more feedback. It grows a bigger community. So obviously that's not the main reason that people are buying early access. The main reason people are buying early access is so they can get an advantage in XP grinding or just experience in the game, because there's a lot of people from FIFA or other football games that want to play this game and go pro, or potentially even like make a career out of it on content creation or some sort of way to monetize it. So obviously there's a lot of advantages. Like I said, you can learn the game early, you can grind early, you can get into ranked early. There'll be better matchmaking because there'll be fewer trolls, and there'll be more dedicated people that actually want to learn the game rather than just have some casual fun. Because if you're into that competitive scene, then going into like a casual mode when the game releases can be kind of frustrating. And that's speaking from experience from different games that I've played that have gone to free access after a few months or maybe like a year or so, and the entire competitive scene just dies. So anyways, talking about ranked, so I'm going to be explaining the rank system really quickly. So it's bronze, simple, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, then there's master, and then there's elite. It's kind of similar to Marvel Rivals if you've ever played it. You start off at the lowest division. So there's 3 divisions, so similar to different ranked games where there's Plat 1, Plat 2, Plat 3, or Bronze 1, Bronze 2, Bronze 3. There's 3 divisions in this game. The one unique thing about ranking up in this game is that you have 3 games to go to the next division. So let's say you have enough RP to, move on to the next division, but you'll have 3 games, and you have to win 2 out of 3 of those games to go to your next division. So there's no RP loss, there's no rating point loss, there's no stat tracking or elo. It's just if you win or lose. So that's what decides if you move on to the next division. So I think it's an interesting change to the pretty boring ranked ladder that I've seen in multiple games, but I don't know how it'll turn out. I don't really have any complaints with it, because it gives me an easier time with ranking up, because I think winning 3 games is way easier than winning 2 games is actually way easier than having to win and then be 1 RR away, like similar to Valorant, where you're 1 game away and then you lose that, and then you're in a fucking cycle again, like an elo health cycle. So I appreciate the new ideas and the new inspiration that they've given us. So elite is the highest rank you can get in this game right now. They might add more later on, they might not, no clue yet. So it really depends on what the community thinks and what the developers think. So like I said, I'm gonna use an example of Valorant again, similar to Valorant, where they thought there was a big skill gap between Diamond and Immortal. They added a rank in between called Ascended. So if that does happen, if that does end up happening, which I'm pretty sure it will, they'll probably add another rank to just fill that space, or give players of that certain skill level a more comfortable environment to play and grow in is my prediction. So moving on, now I'm going to be talking about controls. I did say that the basic controls are already listed in a video, but I'm just going to be talking about, you know, whether you should use keyboard or mouse, whether you should use controller. So I'm just going to be going over the pros and cons of both devices. So when you use controller, which I primarily use, you have an easier time dribbling, in my opinion. You know, the keybinds are not as unorthodox, I'd say, because it's easier to reach all the buttons and there's easier combinations to do. The only downside is that aiming with controller can be quite hard unless you're on a really high sensitivity and you're used to it. You know, aiming with it and quickly adjusting to the fast pace of the game can be a bit frustrating, and it can be a pretty big learning curve, is what I've seen even with my own gameplay. Even though I use a low sense, I don't have much of a hard time, you know, aiming, because I just don't need to move fast enough because I've not played enough of this game yet. So eventually I'm pretty sure I will move to a higher sense as well. But if you're starting out and you're more comfortable on, let's say, keyboard or mouse, you've never played controller in your life, you don't even have a controller, so obviously no choice but keyboard and mouse. But the only issue with keyboard and mouse is that it'll be harder for you to, in my experience, in my personal experience, it's harder to use the curve, the Magnus effect is what they call it in this game. Because the modifier button is really hard to like mess around with. I don't know if they've changed that in the recent playtest because I haven't tested it, but that's one personal thing that was kind of bothering me. Otherwise, the dribbling can feel a bit, bit clunky, I guess, not as smooth as it does feel on controller, because the keybinds are, again, unorthodox, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be adding a feature to, you know, rebind all your buttons soon enough, so maybe that'll make a difference. But I still feel like controller is better. Maybe I just have a bias because I've always been playing on controller. But really, it doesn't really make a difference. It's just controls. It's up to preference and what you like. It's just controller feels a bit more smoother, whereas keyboard gives you a little more versatility with what you want to do once you get used to it. So in the long run, I'd probably suggest the keyboard. But if you think you can do better on the controller, then that's what you should do, because that's what I'm doing. So yeah. Now, another thing that this game does not tackle that well in the playtest, or did not tackle that well in the playtest, was optimization and graphics. So a lot of people run like the lowest graphics possible, even though the game shouldn't be that heavy on your PC, because I've heard a lot of people crashing and a lot of people having an issue with their graphics drivers in this game, because they're always on like 60 FPS or 30 FPS, and it's way heavier than other games when it really shouldn't be, considering, you know, the magnitude or the size of this game. It might just be the playtest and the optimization issues, but, you know, that's one thing to consider if you have a low NPC and if they don't fix it. So I wouldn't suggest buying the game right away. Maybe wait for some videos to come out. I might post a few videos on the graphics and like the most recommended settings for Rematch. So be on the lookout for that. And unless you're sure that, you know, your PC can run it at like a smooth 60 FPS at the very least, then you know, make sure you check that out before you do end up buying the game. So let's talk about cosmetics in this game. Cosmetics in this game are obviously, they're a unique sort of addition to football games in general, because the only cosmetic customization I've seen so far is in like career mode from FIFA. But this lets you really customize how you look, what your hair looks like, what clothes you wear. You can mix and match. And I don't know the scale of FIFA customization because I've not played it much, but I think this is a really nice way to add a little bit of personal flair to your own character. And they announced this in the Discord. If you're not already in the Discord, I heavily suggest joining it if you want updates. So what they announced in the Discord was that they'll be adding a Ronaldinho and another player, and I can't remember who, but they're adding a Ronaldinho package, or like a skin, a custom skin that you'll be able to use, so you can cosplay as your favorite footballer, and they're not gonna, you know, you don't have to keep messing around with your avatar and your hair and whatnot to try to cosplay them, rather than like just buying the skin itself. So obviously it's gonna be behind a paywall, or microtransactions is what my assumption is, and I'm pretty sure it is, because there's a battle pass in this game, similar to Lotto games nowadays because of the Fortnite hype from a few years ago. But there's obviously a battle pass, and the battle pass gives you gems. I'm pretty sure they're called blocks or something in this game, but it's just a currency that you can use to buy cosmetics from the shop. And there's a shop that refreshes daily or weekly. I'm not too sure yet because they haven't told us anything about that. But it refreshes, and you can, you know, buy your own things, and the battle pass gives you currency to buy that. So the upgraded battle pass, as far as I know, is what it's called, a captain pass or a captain's pass, and that's like the premium version of the battle pass. So it lets you get cosmetics, it lets you get access to, like, it's similar to most of the battle pass games nowadays. It just gives you access to in-game items, and it doesn't really give you much of an advantage except cosmetics in this game. So unless you're like trying to completely drip out your character, I really wouldn't suggest it. Or unless you're trying to like showcase something, I don't know. I just wouldn't, you know, recommend you buying, like, say, like a $10 battle pass just for your character's looks, because again, the graphics in this game don't really add up to optimization, or are not really optimized well. So I wouldn't suggest you know, spending time on your cosmetics or clothes until you know that you can run the game smoothly and it looks good for you. So moving on, we have the community and just the future of this game in general, because I did mention it earlier in the start of the video. I just want to talk about how, you know, responsive the devs are during the playtest, because in the playtest, I don't know if they were the devs or just like the representatives, but I definitely do think they did take a lot of feedback in, and they did fix problems pretty quickly. Considering how big the game is, you know, you'd expect them to make changes quick, but not this quick, because I've seen a lot of games just be like, oh yeah, we'll fix it, and then they fix it a week later. These guys fixed it within hours of release. So, I mean, clearly they care about their game, and I'm glad they do, because this game definitely has a really bright future. It's a unique game. It has clean animations, it has a clean playstyle, and it's just something new. And it's what's caught, you know, the unique style of this game is what's caught football fans and even anime fans from Blue Lock to come into this sort of environment. But the Discord so far, I haven't been too active on it, but it seems like they're pretty helpful and they're pretty friendly. So if you need someone to interact with, I know they have looking for groups and they have looking for teams, looking for team channels. So if you don't have any friends that play the game, or, you know, don't have early access or not planning to buy early access, but you did, you can always go there and look for some teammates to play with, maybe make some new friends. But so far, that's really all I know about the community. In terms of like a competitive scene, I'm not too sure if this game will go into esports in the first 2 years, maybe a bit later, depending on how the game does end up doing. But I do feel like there'll be a lot of fan-made or player-made leagues and clubs that do end up blowing up. I know I'm gonna do one myself, so be on the lookout for that. I'll you know, announce it whenever I do have the time. But for now, I'm gonna focus on learning the game as well, because I'm not the best at this. Right, clubs and leagues will obviously be coming and going, but official esports, there's no announcement on that. I'm pretty sure, like I said, the first 2 years will be pretty silent, just refining the game and you know, making it more smoother, making it a more enjoyable watching experience rather than just a playing experience, you know? So, I mean, that's all I want to cover. That's pretty much all you need to know before the release of Rematch. And if you do plan on buying it, if you want to know the best controls, or if you just want to know basics, I will be uploading videos on that, or I'll probably have videos on it up already. So make sure you check that out. But I'm hyped for this game. I can't wait for it to come out. I want to try to transition my channel into primarily Rematch, because the content I usually do is fun, but it's not something I would, you know, consider in the long term, because obviously it has a smaller fan base, and I want to reach out to a bigger audience, a larger audience. So I definitely do think that this game will help me out a lot as well, and it's really, really fun. I was addicted to it first 2 playtests, and I don't know how long I'll be on this, you know, when it actually releases. So yeah, if you want to buy early access, then go for it. You know, I feel like it's definitely worth it, because you get 3 days extra, like I said earlier. And you know, if you really, really enjoy the game, and if you have friends to play with, this game is really, really fun. So that's all. I'm gonna stop yapping about how good this game is. There's obviously its cons as well, but I'm not gonna talk about its flaws, because it's still in playtest. And having such a fun game just in playtest is quite rare. And it's, you know, I fuck with the whole listening to the community and just refining the game as much as you can. So we'll see where Rematch goes in the future. Hopefully it goes in a good direction, and hopefully I'll be able to provide you guys with as much content as possible. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and make sure to subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Drop any suggestions in the comments below. DM me on Discord. Anything's fine with me. And I appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.